I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible, but there's something about what happened between Marcus and me that nobody understands. Everyone's calling me heartless. My own mother won't return my calls. But before you judge me like everyone else has, you need to hear what really happened that night, and more importantly, what happened in the 3 years leading up to it. The worst part isn't that I said those words to him. The worst part is something I've never told anyone, and it changes everything. If I don't tell the story properly, you'll never understand why I'm still checking my phone 6 months later, hoping he'll text. But once you know what I know, once you see the version of Marcus that everyone else refused to see, you'll understand why I said what I said. This isn't just about one argument. It's about 3 years of drowning while everyone around me kept insisting I was living a fairy tale. I'm going to tell you everything, including the real reason I couldn't handle his emotions. And the part that makes me look worst. I'm saving that for later because you need to understand who we were first, how we got there, and why everyone thought we were perfect together. We met at a friend's wedding. I was 26, he was 28. I'd just been promoted to assistant manager at the boutique where I worked, and I was riding high on the validation of finally being taken seriously in my career. Marcus was in finance, one of those jobs I never fully understood but knew meant he made good money and wore nice suits. He approached me during the reception with this shy smile that seemed completely at odds with his confident appearance. "I've been trying to work up the courage to talk to you all night," he said. "I'm Marcus." I remember thinking how refreshing it was that he admitted to being nervous. Every other guy I dated had put on this performance of unwavering confidence that always felt exhausting to be around. Marcus seemed real, vulnerable, safe. We talked for 3 hours that night. He told me about his family. He was the youngest of 4 boys, raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs. He'd put himself through college, sent money home when he could. He wanted to take care of people, he said. That's why he'd gone into financial planning. He liked helping people secure their futures. I told him about my own family. My dad who'd left when I was 12. My mom who'd become this brittle, suspicious version of herself afterward, constantly warning me about men and their inability to stick around when things got hard. "Don't ever rely on them completely," she'd say. "Keep yourself protected." Marcus listened to all of this with these soft, understanding eyes. "That must have been really hard," he said. And I believed he meant it. We started dating officially 2 weeks later. For the first 6 months, it was exactly what everyone told me a good relationship should be. He texted me good morning every day. He planned thoughtful dates. He remembered little things I mentioned in passing and would surprise me with them later. When I mentioned I missed the banana bread my grandmother used to make before she passed, he spent a weekend teaching himself to bake it from an old recipe he found online. "This is what a real man looks like," my best friend Sarah told me. "Someone who actually puts in effort." I agreed, I really did. The first time I noticed something that bothered me was about 8 months in. We were watching a movie at his place, one of those war dramas that always seem designed to make you cry. There's this scene where a soldier finds his best friend dying on the battlefield, and I glanced over at Marcus to make some comment about the heavy-handed music. He was crying, not just tearing up. Actually crying with his hand pressed against his mouth, shoulders shaking slightly. Something in my chest tightened uncomfortably. I didn't say anything then. I just looked back at the screen and tried to focus on the movie, but I couldn't stop being hyper-aware of his sniffling beside me. When the movie ended, he wiped his eyes and laughed a little. "God, that got me. I'm such a mess with these things." "It's fine," I said, but my voice came out weird, distant. He noticed. "You okay?" "Yeah, just tired." I kissed him quickly and told him I needed to head home early to prepare for a big inventory day at work. I didn't examine why I felt so uncomfortable with it. I just knew I did. The second time was worse. We were at his brother's house for a barbecue, and everyone was sitting around telling stories. Marcus started talking about his mom, how she'd worked nights at a nursing home while they were growing up. "I remember waking up sometimes and seeing her come home at 6 in the morning," he said, "and she'd still make us breakfast before we went to school. She never complained, never made us feel like we were a burden." His voice cracked. His eyes got wet. And there, in front of his whole family, he just let the tears come. His brothers didn't even blink. His oldest brother, Derek, put a hand on his shoulder. "Mom was incredible," he said softly. But I felt that same uncomfortable tightness, except this time it came with something else. Embarrassment. I looked around to see if anyone else was reacting the way I was, with this visceral discomfort at watching a grown man cry over a story we'd all heard before. But everyone just looked understanding. Warm, even. I excused myself to go to the bathroom and spent 10 minutes staring at myself in the mirror, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Just when I thought I'd gotten over it, Marcus started doing it more frequently. He cried at a video of soldiers surprising their kids by coming home early. He cried when his coworker's wife was diagnosed with cancer. He cried during a particularly emotional episode of a cooking competition show where someone talked about their deceased parent. "Are you okay?" I'd ask each time, my voice getting a little tighter, a little more strained. "Yeah," he'd always say, smiling through the tears. "I'm just feeling it, you know." I didn't know, that was the problem. By our first anniversary, I'd started developing strategies to avoid situations where he might get emotional. I'd suggest action movies instead of dramas. I'd change the subject if conversations got too deep or sentimental. When he'd start tearing up, I'd suddenly remember something I needed to do in another room. I thought I was being subtle. Looking back, I absolutely wasn't. "You've been kind of distant lately," Marcus said one night after dinner. We were doing dishes together in his kitchen and his voice was careful, gentle, like he was trying not to spook me. "I've just been stressed with work," I said automatically. It wasn't entirely untrue. My manager had quit and I was being considered for her position, which meant longer hours and more responsibility. "I know, but it feels like more than that. Like you're pulling away from me." I scrubbed at a plate harder than necessary. "I'm not pulling away, I'm just busy." "Okay," he said, but I could hear the hurt in his voice. I felt guilty then, genuinely guilty, because Marcus was objectively wonderful. He was kind and thoughtful and everyone loved him. My friends constantly told me how lucky I was. "He's so in touch with his feelings," Sarah would gush. "Do you know how rare that is?" I knew. I knew it was rare, and I knew it was supposed to be good, and I knew there was something wrong with me for being bothered by it. So I made myself push past the discomfort. When I got the promotion to manager, Marcus took me out to celebrate and got so emotional talking about how proud he was of me that he teared up right there in the restaurant. I forced myself to reach across the table and squeeze his hand. "Thank you," I said, trying to mean it fully. "I just love you so much," he said, and there was so much genuine feeling in his voice that I felt like a monster for wishing he'd pull it back a little. "I love you too," I said, and I did. I really did. That was the confusing part. We moved in together after 2 years. It made financial sense. We were both paying for separate apartments in an expensive city. Plus, everyone said it was the natural next step for a serious relationship. Living together meant I couldn't escape to my own place when things got uncomfortable anymore. It meant I was there for all of it. The times he'd get choked up watching the news. The times he'd cry after a hard day at work. The time he sobbed, actually sobbed, when his childhood dog died. "This is too much," I remember thinking while holding him on the couch as he grieved. "This is too much emotion for a dog he hasn't even lived with in 10 years. But I didn't say it. I just rubbed his back and made the appropriate comforting sounds while feeling nothing but a desperate urge to get away. I started working later. I'd volunteer for closing shifts even though as manager I didn't have to. I'd take on extra projects. Anything to come home when Marcus was already asleep, or at least winding down for bed, when the chances of emotional conversations were lower. "I miss you," he said one morning. We were getting ready for work and I was rushing, trying to get out the door. "It feels like we never see each other anymore." "I know, the job's just been crazy. Once we get through this quarter, there's always a next thing," he interrupted, and there was an edge to his voice I wasn't used to. "First it was the promotion, then it was training the new staff, then it was the regional evaluation. I'm starting to feel like you're avoiding me." My heart started pounding. "That's not fair. I'm working hard to build my career." "I know, and I'm proud of you, but I'm also lonely. I miss my girlfriend, I miss us actually talking." The problem was, I felt relieved by the distance, but I couldn't tell him that. "Let's plan a weekend away," I heard myself say. "Just us, we can go to that bed and breakfast upstate you mentioned." His face brightened immediately and I felt worse. "Really, you'd want to do that?" "Of course, I'm sorry I've been so busy." "Let me check my schedule and we'll book something." I never checked my schedule. I just kept putting it off until he stopped bringing it up. Everyone online thought we were fine. I'd post photos of us at the occasional dinner or event, and people would comment about relationship goals and how perfect we looked together. My mom even called after one post. "He seems like a good man," she said, her tone reluctant, like the words were being dragged out of her. "Don't mess this up." I wanted to scream at her that I was trying not to, but I didn't know how to explain what was happening. Sarah noticed, though. We met for drinks one evening and I made the mistake of having one too many glasses of wine. "You don't seem happy," she said bluntly. "What's going on with you and Marcus?" Nothing, everything's fine. You've been saying that for months, but your face when you talk about him. She trailed off, studying me. Do you not love him anymore? I do love him, I insisted. He's great, he's perfect, actually, that's the problem. How is that a problem? I took another drink before answering. He's too emotional, like all the time, he cries constantly and it's exhausting. Sarah's expression shifted into something I couldn't quite read. He cries constantly, what does that even mean? I mean he cries at everything. Movies, commercials, stories, memories. He's so sensitive about everything and I struggled to find the words. I can't handle it. It makes me feel weird, uncomfortable. Uncomfortable how? I don't know, like I'm dating someone who's too soft, too much feeling all the time. The wine had loosened my tongue and words were spilling out that I'd kept locked away. My dad was like that, emotional and sensitive and always making everything about his feelings. And then he left because things got hard and his feelings couldn't handle it. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Marcus isn't your dad. I know that. Do you? Because it sounds like you're punishing him for something he didn't do. I wanted to argue, but something about the way she said it made me pause. Was I punishing him, or was I protecting myself? What am I supposed to do? I asked. I can't just flip a switch and be okay with it. Have you talked to him about how you feel? How am I supposed to say that? Hey Marcus, I need you to stop having feelings because they make me uncomfortable. Obviously not like that. But you could talk to him, or maybe talk to a therapist about why this bothers you so much. I didn't do either of those things. Instead, I just let the resentment build. It started coming out in small, cutting ways. When Marcus would get emotional, I'd make little comments. It's not that serious. You're being really dramatic. Can we not do this right now? He'd look hurt, pull back, but then try to explain. I know it seems like a lot, but this is just how I process things. I'm not trying to be dramatic. Well, it feels dramatic, I'd snap back. I thought I was fixing things, but really I was demolishing them piece by piece. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday evening. Marcus came home from work clearly upset. I was in the kitchen making dinner, already tense because I could see it on his face, that look that meant emotions were coming. Bad day? I asked, keeping my voice light, hoping we could keep this surface level. Yeah. He sat down at the kitchen table heavily. We had to let someone go today. This guy Tom, who's been with the company for 15 years. He's got 3 kids, and with the economy the way it is. His voice was already getting thick. I gripped the knife I was using to chop vegetables a little tighter. That's rough, I said neutrally. I keep thinking about his family. How is he going to tell his wife, his kids? He's 53 years old and now he has to start over. He was fully crying now. Sitting at our kitchen table, crying over a coworker he barely knew, something inside me snapped. Jesus Christ, Marcus, can you please just stop? He looked up, startled. What? This, the crying, the constant emotions about everything, it's exhausting. Someone lost their job, I'm processing it. You're always processing something. Every day it's something new to cry about. Do you know how draining it is to come home to this all the time? His face was doing this complicated thing, hurt and confusion and something else I couldn't identify. I'm sorry if my feelings are inconvenient for you. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? That I should just bottle everything up, pretend nothing affects me? I'm saying that maybe you don't need to fall apart over every single thing. Maybe you could just handle things without making it into this big emotional production. The words were coming faster now, 3 years of suppressed frustration pouring out. Real men don't cry over every little thing, Marcus. They don't break down because a coworker got fired or a dog died or a movie was sad. They handle their emotions like adults. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus just stared at me, and the look on his face was something I'd never seen before. Not hurt, not angry, something colder. Real men, he repeated slowly. You know what I mean? No, I really don't. Please explain to me what real men do, since apparently I've been doing it wrong this whole time. His voice was so calm it was scary. I'd never heard him sound like this. I just mean that constantly crying about everything it's too much, it's not normal. Not normal, he said, still in that too calm voice. Okay. He stood up from the table and walked toward the bedroom. I thought maybe we were going to take a break from this conversation, cool down, come back to it later. But then I heard drawers opening. The closet door. I followed him to find him pulling a duffel bag out from the top shelf. What are you doing? Packing, he said simply, opening drawers and pulling out clothes. Marcus, come on, we need to talk about this. We just did. You told me real men don't cry. You told me my emotions are exhausting and not normal. I heard you very clearly. Didn't mean I was frustrated. He stopped packing and looked at me directly. How long have you felt this way? I couldn't answer. The truth was too damning. How long, Jenna? His voice cracked on my name and I hated myself for noticing it, for that familiar discomfort rising up even now. I don't know, a while. Months, a year. I don't know, it's not like I kept track. You've been disgusted by me for over a year and you didn't say anything. You just let me keep thinking we were okay. We had a future. I'm not disgusted. Yes, you are. I can see it in your face every time I show any emotion. I've been seeing it for months and I kept telling myself I was imagining it. But I wasn't, was I? I wanted to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. He went back to packing, methodically pulling clothes from drawers, toiletries from the bathroom. I followed him around the apartment, trying to find something to say that would fix this, but my mind was blank. Where are you going to go? I finally asked. My brothers. Can we please just talk about this? I'm sorry, okay? I shouldn't have said that. You're sorry you said it, not sorry you think it. He zipped up the duffel bag and slung it over his shoulder. There's a difference. Marcus, please. I've spent 3 years trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. Why you kept pulling away. Why you seemed uncomfortable around me. I thought maybe I wasn't successful enough, or interesting enough, or good enough in some way I couldn't figure out. I bent myself in knots trying to be whatever you needed. He was crying now, and even in this moment, even with him leaving, I felt that familiar discomfort. He noticed, I saw him notice. You can't even look at me right now, he said quietly. I'm standing here crying because my relationship is ending and you can't even meet my eyes. He was right. I was looking anywhere but at his face. I can't do this anymore, he said. I can't be with someone who's ashamed of me for being human. I'm not ashamed. Yes, you are, and I don't think you're a bad person for it, Jenna. I think you've got some stuff you need to work through, but I can't be your emotional punching bag while you do it. He walked to the door and I just stood there. I hope you figure it out, he said, and then he was gone. I told myself he'd come back. That he'd cool off and we'd talk and figure something out, but days passed with no word, then weeks. I texted him, he didn't respond. I called him, it went to voicemail. I showed up at Derek's place and Derek answered the door with his arms crossed. He doesn't want to see you. I just want to talk to him. You told him real men don't cry. What the hell is wrong with you? I was upset, I didn't mean. Yeah, well, he's done, and honestly, I don't blame him. Derek's expression was disgusted. Marcus deserves someone who loves all of him, not someone who thinks he's defective. The door closed in my face. I tried to get back to normal. I focused on work. I went out with friends. I posted photos on social media of myself looking happy and unbothered. Everyone online thought I was fine, but privately I was checking my phone constantly, hopping for a text, a call, anything. Sarah came over one night and found me scrolling through old photos of Marcus and me. Have you talked to him? She asked. He won't answer. Maybe that's for the best. I looked up at her. What? I mean, do you actually want him back, or do you just miss having a boyfriend? I want him back. Why? It should have been an easy question, but I couldn't answer it without sounding terrible. Because he was good to you, Sarah prompted. Because he loved you. He was kind and thoughtful and everyone loved him. Yes, but you still can't handle his emotions. I could work on that. I could get better, could you? Really? Because from where I'm sitting you had 3 years to work on it and instead you just pulled away and made him feel like shit about himself. Her bluntness was startling. I thought you were on my side. I am on your side. That's why I'm telling you this. You need to actually deal with whatever this is instead of just hopping it goes away. Otherwise you're going to do this to the next guy too. She left shortly after and I sat alone in the apartment that still had traces of Marcus everywhere. His favorite coffee mug that he'd forgotten to pack. A book on the nightstand he'd been reading. His toothbrush still in the bathroom holder. I thought about what Sarah said. About what Derek said. About what Marcus said. You're ashamed of me for being human. I picked up my phone and called my mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. Mom, can I ask you something about Dad? There was a long pause. What about him? When he left, you always said it was because things got hard and he couldn't handle it, but was that really why? Why are you asking about this now? Just tell me, please. Another pause. Your father was a lot of things, Jenna, but the main thing was that he was selfish. When things got difficult, when I was struggling with money or stress, he'd make it about his feelings, about how hard it was for him. He'd cry and expect me to comfort him when I was the one who needed support. My chest felt tight, so he was emotional. He was self-centered, there's a difference. He used his emotions to avoid responsibility, to make himself the victim in every situation. I was quiet, processing this. Why, Mom asked. What's this about? Marcus left me. What, why? I told her, all of it. The crying, my discomfort, the things I said. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. Mom. Did he make everything about his feelings? She asked. Did he use them to avoid responsibility? No, he was incredibly responsible. He just felt things deeply. Did he support you, listen to you when you had problems? Always, he was always there for me. Then he's nothing like your father, she said quietly. And you just destroyed something good because you convinced yourself he was. The words hit like a physical blow. I warned you about men like your father, she continued. But I never meant for you to be afraid of men who actually feel. That's not the same thing at all. After we hung up, I sat in the dark apartment and let myself actually think about Marcus. Not the parts that made me uncomfortable, but who he actually was. He was the person who learned to make banana bread for me, who supported my career even when it meant seeing me less, who remembered everything I told him and showed up for me constantly, who loved his family and his friends and his coworkers, who felt things deeply because he cared deeply, and I'd made him feel defective for it. I looked at our photos again. In all of them he was looking at me with this open, unguarded affection. And I was smiling, but now I could see it, the slight distance in my eyes, the way I angled my body just a little away from him, the subtle signs of pulling back that I'd been doing for years. I'd spent 3 years slowly killing something beautiful because I was too afraid and too damaged to appreciate it. The worst part, the part I've never told anyone until now, is that somewhere deep down, I think I wanted him to leave. Not consciously, but some broken part of me was waiting for him to prove that emotional men always leave eventually. That my mom was right. That vulnerability equals weakness equals abandonment. So I pushed and pushed until he did leave. And then I got to be right. Except I wasn't right. He didn't leave because he was weak. He left because he was strong enough to know he deserved better than someone who couldn't love all of him. I started therapy after that, not because I thought it would get Marcus back. I knew that ship had sailed, but because I realized I needed to fix whatever was broken in me before I could have any kind of healthy relationship. My therapist helped me understand that I'd conflated my father's emotional manipulation with genuine emotional expression, that I'd built walls so high to protect myself that I'd locked out the exact kind of love I actually needed. 3 months after he left, I saw Marcus at a mutual friend's birthday party. He looked good. Happy, even. He was talking to a woman I didn't recognize, and she was laughing at something he said. I felt jealous and heartbroken and weirdly proud of him all at once. He saw me across the room, our eyes met. He gave me a small nod, not unkind but not warm either, and then turned back to his conversation. I left early. Sarah texted me later. You okay? Not really, but I will be. And I meant it. I was working on myself. Learning to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Learning the difference between emotional manipulation and emotional honesty. Learning that vulnerability isn't weakness. But none of that changed the fact that I'd lost Marcus. That I'd taken something precious and destroyed it because of my own damage. It's been 6 months now. I still check my phone sometimes, hoping to see his name. But it never appears. I know what people think of me. My friends have mostly taken his side, which I understand. My mom feels guilty, which makes me feel worse. Online, I keep posting like everything's fine because I don't know what else to do. The truth is, I'm the villain in this story. Not because I'm a bad person, but because I let my fears and my damage hurt someone who only ever loved me. I've been thinking about reaching out. Not to get back together. I'm self-aware enough to know that ship has sailed and I haven't done enough work to deserve another chance anyway. But to apologize. To tell him that he was never the problem, that he was perfect exactly as he was, and that I'm sorry I made him feel otherwise. Sarah says I shouldn't. Let him move on. Don't make this about making yourself feel better. She's probably right, but I want him to know that I understand now. That real men do cry. They cry because they're brave enough to feel. They cry because they're strong enough to be vulnerable. They cry because they're human, and being human is the realest thing there is. Marcus was more of a man than I gave him credit for, and the fact that I couldn't see that says everything about me and nothing about him. I don't know if I'll ever send that message. I don't know if he'd even read it if I did. What I do know is that I told him real men don't cry, and he packed his stuff and hasn't looked back since. And he was absolutely right to do it. The hardest part of all of this isn't the loneliness or the regret, though both of those are substantial. It's knowing that I had something rare and real, and I rejected it because it didn't match the broken blueprint I'd been carrying around since childhood. It's knowing that somewhere out there, Marcus is probably fine, maybe even happy, maybe even in love with someone who deserves him, and I'm here, finally understanding what I lost, 6 months too late to do anything about it. People keep asking me what happened, why we broke up. I usually say something vague about not being compatible, about wanting different things. It's easier than the truth. The truth is I broke us. I broke him a little, and then I broke us. the really messed up part, some small, damaged piece of me is still uncomfortable with the memory of his tears. Even now, knowing everything I know, understanding everything I understand, there's this tiny voice that recoils from the image of him crying. I'm working on it. That voice gets quieter every week, but it's still there. That's why I'm telling this story. Not for sympathy, I don't deserve it. Not for forgiveness, I haven't earned it. But because maybe someone else out there is doing what I did. Pulling away from someone good because they're too afraid to accept real intimacy. Confusing emotional honesty with weakness. If that's you, stop, just stop. Don't be like me. Don't wait until he packs his stuff and doesn't look back to realize what you had. I still have his coffee mug. I should probably throw it away or donate it or something, but I haven't been able to. Sometimes I pour my coffee into it and pretend we're having a normal morning together. I know that's pathetic. I know that's the kind of thing I should bring up in therapy instead of indulging, but it's all I have left of him, and I'm not ready to let go. Not yet. Maybe not ever.